Well. Welcome back to Kamp.
Dude, you got to find a new way to start every episode.
Oh, that's how we do it, man.
Okay.
That's how it goes. What do you mean? Every time hey, this is episode 1.
Dude, it's been a long time since I ever did that.
No, you can't say that anymore.
No, we canceled it.
Yeah. We're back. You know, we just had some lunch together.
Yeah.
We didn't.
What did I have for lunch?
You had a beer, and I had 2 taquitos.
Well, I got so afraid a few weeks ago. I just kept getting throat creaks the entire time I was trying to talk, and so I didn't want to have throat creaks anymore. I think if I eat a giant meal and then I sit down, all scrunched up here, and I try to talk for an hour, I will. I get the creaks.
Throat creaks?
Yeah, I don't want those TCs, baby. They're gross.
I couldn't hear them. If it makes you feel better.
There was a couple times where I heard it in my headphones, and it really disgusted me. So I'm sure. I don't know. We'll see if they show up in the comments. If anybody's like, "Ew, what the fuck is that?"
Drop a comment if you heard the throat creaks.
Yeah, if you hear those TCs, let me know because I'm trying to get rid of them. I need to go to a TC doctor. I think I need to fix my DE and my TC. People are really latching on to diarrhea energy. I love it.
Diarrhea energy.
Yeah.
So what you come here for?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, men our age, they're starting to get DE.
D? Are we calling it D?
DE. And, if you or someone probably suffers from DE, they might need some compensation. So we're working on a court case where we can get everybody their DE money.
Their DE money.
Yeah. You're not alone. You don't suffer in silence, but deadly. Diarrhea energy. Oh, shout out. Somebody made us these diarrhea energy mugs as well. So.
Somebody. Give him a shout, dude.
Brian Joho, man. Let's do a little. So Brian Joho is one of our earlier fans.
Show the camera, the mug.
I don't know which camera it is. There you go. And then, so Brian Joho is someone who, as soon as we moved to California to really work on the band, he was immediately a huge supporter of ours, and he would show up with these giant jars of shake, weed shake. And I never smoked. I honestly kind of hate weed, but I remember smoking. One of my friends came and visited me. I was like, "Yeah, we have all this weed," and he's like, "Dude, it's literally all leaves." And I was like, "Doesn't matter." So we smoked it in these little vaporizer that we had that your brother actually just found. And I remember thinking I was going to die, and it was just, I barely even took a hit of anything.
Yeah, Joho was one of our first kind of friends that we made in Huntington.
Yeah.
That would kind of help us out. I remember he I'm pretty sure he took Andy to the gym a couple times, play basketball.
Yeah, he was big into basketball, and I think he would bring food over sometimes. I think he just realized we were struggling.
Dude, so. I remember one time he invited us over to his apartment and he gave us a bunch of beer and we watched the basketball game.
Oh, that's right.
He gave us some extra weed. We're like, this guy's so nice.
Yeah, he would always show up with a 6-pack of Dos Equis or something. Yeah. I was like, I love this guy.
Yeah, man. He was super cool. But yeah, he sent us these mugs that he got us made. And he sent me a really nice message the other day and said that he's really enjoyed the Kamp podcast and that he's been going through some stuff, and it's just been a positive thing for him.
Dude, I haven't talked to him in probably, 10 years or whatever it was since then. So I need to reach out.
Yeah.
It's really cool getting all these, we have so many awesome fans and stuff from the music. And on our last tour that we did together, I started meeting people that found out about the band through the podcast, which was so backwards for me, and so I was like, "That's crazy."
How many
awesome.
people?
It was just a couple.
Yeah.
But it was when we were really getting the podcast started, but we didn't have any video or anything back then, so it was really different for me to be like, "Oh yeah, I found you guys a podcast, and we heard your band, and then we came out and saw your shows." I was like, "Damn."
Yeah.
It's usually backwards where everybody knows our music and then they listen to the podcast. But.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But it's cool. I mean, in our set, everything we have back here is pretty much made by people that follow our bands that we become friends with, and we've talked a little bit about it, but it's dope having all these little trinkets that people that really care about what we've done and stuff, make for us.
Yeah, we've got some cool stuff at the studio laying around that I still need to hang up that fans have given us, or it's just rad.
Yeah.
Cool little reminders of all the support that we've had.
when we go on tour, I used to buy like little trinkets from gas stations. And so at my house, I have like a little alligator from one time we went to Florida. I just bought it at a gas station, or like, like little stuff. So I got like this whole like shelf of like small memories I can remember. Like, I totally forgot we went there. It's cool. I'm really glad I did that. Do you still have all your little tour laminates?
Yeah, dude. I still have all of my tickets from every show I've ever been to.
Really?
Yeah.
You never stopped doing that?
I mean, I don't really go to the shows that much anymore, unless it's like I don't go to shows that much. But yeah, I saved my tickets.
Damn.
I don't know. There's probably some over the past few years I didn't save.
It's a lot less cool now that tickets are just printed pieces of paper and not like tickets that say the name.
Yeah. No, most of the ones I have are the real tickets. But yeah, no, from the age of 13 and up, I saved all my tickets because my idea is like, it'd be cool one day, to be able to pass those along or just like show my kids or something. You know what I mean? It would just be rad to have.
Be like, yeah, cool, and toss. My dad was like he's like had this stamp collection from when he was a kid, and he was like, I'm going to pass it on to my kids. And then I remember one day he was like, you guys want to hold on to this? I was like, that's all you.
What was it?
Just stamps.
Stamps.
I mean, that was probably the shit.
That's pretty boring, dude.
That's probably the shit to hold on to when you're like in the 60s, I have no idea how old my dad is, but I'm imagining it's...
Well, it's like when my dad, or when my uncle died, I got all of his vinyl, and that was so rad because there was a bunch of really awesome, expensive stuff in there, Like
yeah, that's cool.
Original pressings of like Black Flag records and Zeppelin and
your uncle was into cool
stuff.
shit too, like shit that we actually like still.
Yeah,
he was kind of like, his band was somewhat an inspiration to Trent Reznor, right?
Yeah, that's what my uncles told me. No, it's real, it's true. So my uncle played drums for this band called Controlled Bleeding, and they were an experimental kind of industrial band. And from what I heard, so Trent Reznor, and I actually, after my uncle died, I called his other bandmate that he was in Controlled Bleeding with. His name's Paul, and he's actually still doing it. I think he's still
Controlled Bleeding.
Yeah, he's still doing it. And I reached out to him a few years after my uncle died. He passed away when I was 18, so I think when I was like 22 or 23, I reached out to him. Because I just kind of wanted to share with him, like, hey, man, I'm a drummer too now, and I tour with my band, and it was just really cool. He sent me like a long email back and was like, man, this is so crazy. It's so cool that, you and your uncle are sharing a similar kind of path as far as like career or whatever. And and I don't know, it was just a trip, dude. He was telling me about all the just how their band functioned and all the crazy stuff that they would do making records. And
they're very like not like noise metal stuff, but close to it. It was industrial.
No, some of their stuff is noise, dude. Some of their other stuff is straight up noise, uncomfortable. Like, that stuff that Keller played at the studio the other day.
That's what stuff? I was kind of getting into.
They have some stuff like that.
Like my entire Instagram now is just like people doing these like private shows, probably in their basement. They're on like a table and they just make the worst noises ever, and then people stand around it and just like nod their heads pretending like they're into it, and you're just like, dude, there's no way. Like, you just want to like that so much, but you don't like it.
Yeah,
it's almost like performative art. What it is like,
you like it because it's different. No one else is gonna like it, and that's why you like it. You don't actually like it.
Yeah, I get it, because like I think it's like the next step, because I like Death Grips. I think that's the next step to liking Death Grips. If Death Grips isn't enough, you start going to somebody's basement and you watch them just slam a table on the ground like 40 times and really like try to go for it. But
yeah,
when I saw Death Grips,
I can't listen to that kind of music anymore, like Death Grips and stuff.
Oh, I like Death Grips.
I just can't. I think I don't know. I think that era of me liking that kind of sound and the way that stuff makes me feel is behind me.
Well, the reason I like Death Grips is it still has that hip hop element to it.
I can absolutely respect the musicianship behind it. It's wild. It's crazy. Dude. It's just stuff that I don't really enjoy listening to it. I guess.
When I went and saw them, they had no opener and they just played the worst sound I've ever heard on loop for like 2 hours before they went on stage.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I forgot my ID and they put big X's on my hand, and I was in the crowd and I just took a picture of my hand with the X holding a tequila soda, because my friend went and he's like, oh, I'll just get you a drink. I was like, cool. And then I tagged the venue. I said, come and fucking find me.
My Uncle Chris loved that shit. My mom always explained him to us as the person that would, she told me that when they were kids, they'd be eating dinner and he would find something to take his butter knife and scrape it against. And then he'd smile and like look around at everyone because he wanted them to feel uncomfortable.
That nails on the chalkboard.
And he'd be like, what happens if you do this? And he'd like smile and like he would just purposely break things and he had this just chaotic nature about him. He'd also eat, no, that was my other uncle. I think Uncle Sean would eat sticks of butter as a kid.
I believe it.
Do you like that?
I love that. Yeah.
I believe it.
That's so
I
funny.
can't remember if it was him or Uncle Chris. But dude, that's so funny. Like when we were growing up.
Is your Uncle Sean and Chris brothers?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's what's crazy is Uncle Chris played the drums and Uncle Sean played guitar.
Yeah.
And so then when me and my brother were, 12 and 13, I started playing drums. My brother started playing guitar and they'd come over and teach us stuff. And I remember the first time when I got my first drum kit, when you get a drum kit for the first time, especially like a cheaper end drum kit, like obviously my first kit was kind of like one of the basic series kits.
Yeah.
And it comes with shitty stock drum skins that are pretty thin. So my Uncle Chris comes over and starts showing me how to play Iron Man on the drums.
Yeah.
And then just starts going ham, like doing, thrash punk, just blast beats, going nuts on my kit. And by the time he left, all of the drum heads were just so dented. And my mom walked in and she was pissed. She's like, what the fuck did Uncle Chris do to your drum set? I was just like, he was shredding. And so, I don't know, I'll never forget that though. He just dented the shit out of all the drum heads because he wanted to show how fast he was.
That's so funny. Dude, one of my uncles looked exactly like Justin Timberlake. Like he had like the perm. He looked literally like just like Justin Timberlake. And I remember going somewhere and I want to say we were on a fucking boat. I don't know why. We were on like a river or lake or something. And he like was wearing like a wife beater and had his little curly like ramen hair on top. Like, and these girls just run from the top of like the cliff and they start waving and screaming at him.
They thought it was
Justin Timberlake.
They thought it was JT.
And I thought he was so cool because I felt cool because I was in the same boat as somebody who looked like Justin Timberlake.
That's a really good. Calvin, one of my best buds, he bleached his hair and got a perm because of Justin Timberlake when he was in 6th grade.
That's pretty sick.
I have a photo. I'll show you later.
Did you ever have your? Oh yeah. Did you have your ears pierced when you were young, or did you just do it?
Yeah,
in high
me
school?
and Andy got gauges together and like
So
thought
dumb.
we were really cool.
I remember,
Andy kept going. I stopped at like 0, which I think is after you go past that. It's kind of. I still have big holes in my ears though. You can still see the sunlight going through one of the ears.
Sick.
Yeah, it's pretty sick, dude. Sometimes people are like, damn.
When I was in like elementary school, I got my ear pierced. And I went to a Claire's, and I've never felt less cool than walking into Claire's. Like,
I think
cool.
I think that's what I did.
And then like I forgot which year, but I remember I went to school and everybody told me I got the gay ear pierced, and I was like, no, I didn't. And then I looked it up. Or I don't even know if there was internet back there, so there's no way of proving that it wasn't the gay ear. But everybody just said it was the gay ear, but it wasn't.
Ear.
I had the left ear. I think that's the straight.
Speaking of that, dude, that's so nice of you to bring that up during Pride Month.
I know
Is that why you're bringing this story
all
up?
inclusivity,
Oh,
dude.
that's so great, man.
Yeah, dude. I think anybody should be able to pierce whatever ear they want.
Yo, me and Brian Jones pierced Travis Bunn's nipple when we were 16 with a needle from his mom's sewing kit and a potato.
Yeah.
And all we did to numb it was rub a bunch of ice all over his nipple first. And Travis wanted to do this to prove that like it wasn't a big deal. And then the moment we did it, he was screaming.
It's gotta hurt.
Dude, it was wild. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, that was like a big thing back then. Was you put ice on the earlobe or whatever you're gonna pierce,
or the nipple.
Then you put like an apple or potato on the other end to catch that needle tip. You know?
Oh man,
it's pretty wild.
His
Should we do that on the pod next time? Bring a potato and a needle.
Pierce your other ear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can pierce the gay one this time.
We should pierce the gay one for sure.
Oh man, that's so funny. That's the thing. Like back when we were in elementary school, there were so many rumors that would spread like wildfire. And it's like, how did that spread? Because like there's no way like the news was talking about Marilyn Manson removing a fucking rib so he could suck his own dick. But for some reason, a bunch of 12-year-olds were. And it was spread across the fucking country that this was true. And like, there was no internet to like make that happen, no social media. It was just like literally like in junior highs and high schools and elementary schools.
It was organic. It was all analog.
It was organic.
But it was like analog shit talking.
It would start in like the East Coast and the West Coast and meet up. Like, it's fucking weird.
Yeah,
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, who was the messenger doing that?
I don't know.
I don't know, man. You can't act like we're that old. I mean, there was AIM. You know what I mean? I skateboard 4464 was my AOL instant messenger name.
Punker Pan 69.
Punker Pan.
And then my
fucking stupid. Punker Pan.
All my font was like.
Did you think
green.
That was funny, or did you think
I thought it was like funny and cool?
Did you think it was kind of tough?
I was like wacky.
It'd be funnier to me right now if you thought that was like
it's hard,
tough.
You don't think it is?
It's sick. Punker Pan.
What don't you think is tough about that?
That's so funny.
Oh, and all my typing was like really giant letters, like every message I sent, and it was like bright, like neon green and neon pink. That was like the colors I picked. It's pretty fucking dope.
Punker Pan.
Remember like the beginning of MySpace, they had us like actually coding our websites out? Like that was a real thing. It's like, oh, that guy's got the best MySpace. Like he knows how to like code.
His profile song fire.
You would like embed a song that you liked and you would...
well, that's how Katastro got our first show out of state was...
Pacific Dub.
Was because of Pacific Dub, and they found our page somehow, but our profile page, our profile song was That Place You Know, and they sent us a message. They're like, hey, this song is awesome. Like, you guys should come play a show this on Huntington Beach. And I'm like, all right, cool. We're down.
Yeah.
And that's how we started trading shows with them. MySpace, dude.
We're still friends with them.
Your top 5?
Dude, that shit was like ruining lives.
Top 5?
You'd be like, hey, you're not in my top 5 anymore. Or you just have to like slowly...
That was
like,
the beginning of... Damn.
That's like the beginning of like a social... like hierarchy
that really does make us sound old as shit. Like when you think about YouTube was created while we were in high school. 2006 is when YouTube came out.
I mean, Facebook wasn't out. There was no like social media. You couldn't go on anything on your phone. I didn't even have a cell phone until I was 13. 14. I didn't have a cell phone until I was 14. That's fucking wild.
I remember you not having a cell phone for a few years.
I remember, yeah. I didn't have a cell phone when I was 23 too, because I kept blacking out and breaking them on tour. I remember when CDs were coming out, and I was like, "This is nuts." My dad
I want to talk
CD
about
player.
this. Yeah, CDs. I want to talk about this actually because I feel like I was thinking about this recently. When in high school, for me, when an album came out, and I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you and Tanner and Andy were ever into collecting physical like CDs or vinyl. Ever.
I was into fucking pirating as much as I could.
Yeah. So you guys are a bunch of thieves. Anyways, I remember my experience with music when I was younger was when I was 16 working at Barrow's Pizza, or 15 or 16 working at Barrow's. Me and Andrew Cali, we worked there together, and me, Andrew, and Calvin would save up all of our money from our shitty jobs, and every week or 2 weeks we'd go to Eastside Records, which was the dope little independent vinyl shop in Tempe. And I remember getting,
Was it
like
Eastside or Eastman's?
No, it's called Eastside Records. Yeah. And we'd go there and we'd buy vinyl, and we'd go back to Andrew Callie's house and we'd open them up. I remember getting like the Mars Volta Francis the Mute right when it came out, and going back to his house and all of us unpackaging it together and just opening up to see. And it was so exciting, so much more exciting than like getting a notification on your phone that like this new album's out.
Yeah.
And we would sit, dude, and we'd all put on our headphones. We all bought the same pair of nice like studio headphones from Guitar Center because we were so into just sitting around. Like it was now when I look back, it's so funny, but like, dude, we love that shit. We'd sit in a room together and we'd all put the headphones on and we'd listen to the album from front to back without saying a word. And then we would talk about our experience afterwards. We'd talk about the artwork. We would look up the credits of like who was doing what. And it was like this world that we were just obsessed with. And then we'd get very obsessed with one album for a while and then move to another album and to just kind of repeat that process. And to me, that is it was so exciting. And do you remember when albums would come out and you'd have to go, if you wanted it first, you'd have to go wait for it at Zia? Did you ever do that for an album release?
I don't know if I would do it for album releases. I don't think I did that for anything ever. Because you used to do that for like video games too, right?
Mostly for music, but we did it for Halo when Halo came out. But I remember me and Andrew went to Zia Records at midnight. So when an album was coming out, you'd have to go wait at midnight at Zia, and they would actually keep the store open because it was a big album release. Yeah. And for the Stadium Arcadium Red Hot Chili Peppers album, we were probably 16 or 17.
We were in high school.
We were in high school, and I drove to Zia at midnight, and they opened the doors. I bought the album. I went back into my car and I'm listening to it, and I'm on my way home, and I'm right next to our high school, like a mile away from my house, and my car breaks down. And my dad had to come help me start the car, and he was so pissed because he had to be up super early for like a work meeting. And I just remember he was really angry with me, but just being so excited about that album coming out and listening to it all night. I don't think I went to bed that night until like 4 or 5 in the morning because I just kept listening to the album over and over again.
Yeah, I remember when our Expanded's one of their albums was about to drop, like it leaked a week. Like, remember leaks? That was fucking exciting when you're like, dude, I have this album before anybody else.
So exciting because some albums wouldn't leak.
Yeah.
But then some albums would. So
and there's always like the shittiest sound on it. And like there's things different. Like sometimes somebody would leak it before it was like, then like once the real album came out, it didn't have this whole intro part that is now. But I remember when I think it was Mandala came out, I went to your house with this like burned leaked copy.
I remember that.
And we like just drove around in circles listening to it.
There's so something just so exciting about that. And then I found my CD book actually recently when I was cleaning out my closet, and I still have tons of burned CDs with the funniest names on them. Like some of them are just named like such dumb things.
I think when I joined the band, you guys burned me a CD with like Dirty Heads and Slightly Stupid on it, and that's how I learned how to do backing vocals. Was I would just play like Slightly Stupid and Dirty Heads because I was unfamiliar with like any of that kind of music. I only listened to like jazz and punk and weird shit. But I would just play it on loop, and they had like really simple melodies with like really good harmonies on it, and I would just sing in my car like nonstop, and that's how I like eventually I was like, I'm gonna try it on stage and like learn how to do it. But like so now every time I start my car, it just fucking plays music, and it's really fucking annoying. Yeah. But like it's just whatever is saved on my phone, and so the only albums I've ever bought from iTunes are Washed and like an old Dirty Heads album. Because I was like, we had just played a show with them, and I was like, oh, we know these guys. I'm going to support them, which is funny. Yeah. But so now every time I get in my car, it's like fucking Morning Light starts playing. Or
remember
something.
Andy's white Expedition that he drove?
Oh, yeah.
I remember getting into his car, and this was right when we started the band. It was probably after the first show we ever did with Dirty Heads, which is Katastro's like second or third show we ever played. And Andy had a burned CD that had Neighborhood on it. In my neighborhood.
Yeah, that's that one that I had.
And like, I remember Andy would play that over and over again, but it was on a burned CD. And I just remember thinking we thought that song was so sick because no other bands, like we didn't really know of any other bands that had a rapper and lead singer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's why at such a young age, Andy was like, oh, I'm not alone. Like Jared's also rapping and he's also singing.
Yeah.
And they're really sick. And like, I don't know. It's just really cool.
So yeah, it had Neighborhood. It had Antelope on it.
It had Slightly Stupid on it.
It had Slightly Stupid, and then it was also like Hieroglyphics, Z-Man.
This is all on that CD. You know what CD I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? Like we
Z-Man,
remember
Hyro and Living Legends, and it had like some weird deep cuts from Living Legends that like I still fucking love now. But yeah, it's wild. I mean, that last tour we were supposed to do,
Atmosphere was on it for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Atmosphere was on it for sure. But so like that last tour we were supposed to do before Andy passed away was with it was gonna be Iration and Atmosphere and the Grouch. And the Grouch was on Living Legends.
Dude, that's crazy.
Atmosphere
Everyone
was
that's on that CD.
It's pretty much like everyone that like when we were first starting the band that we were listening to. Because like Grouch I listened to all the fucking time. Atmosphere, obviously. We used to like go sell whatever we could to like scalp tickets to go to the shows. Like we were just obsessed with it. And now we're like have met him at shows and on email chains and shit. You're like, this is wild.
Yeah.
I love them.
Dude, we need to normalize CD usage again. I feel like there's just, yeah,
I mean,
don't know.
there's no way to even play a CD anymore.
Come over, dude. I have ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, it's like because then like Amazon and everything came out and the MP3, like the birth of the MP3, and you're like, oh, so did you ever have one of those mini disc players? They're like these little squares, and you could put up to like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 CDs on this one disc. But it was like a little mini floppy drive kind of thing.
I think I did.
I remember getting one of those and like, oh,
Remember
this
the
is the
Walkman?
fucking future because you could, oh yeah, Walkman, and it would just fucking skip all the time.
Dude, the Walkman, I remember going on a trip to San Diego with my family. I was probably in like 7th grade listening to the Sum 41 album and the Good Charlotte album just on repeat over and over again.
Dude,
the album that has Fat Lip and In Too Deep on it, that's a good album.
Did you ever go to like the Virgin Records? Because like back when they had
there was
all
one
tapes,
at AZ Mills.
yeah,
Right? Yeah.
So like when I was a kid, I remember getting my first tape, and like it was like my first piece of like physical music, and I got
it was a cassette?
it was a cassette, yeah, and it was Smash Mouth
Fuck yeah, dude.
and Savage Garden, not Soundgarden. Savage Garden.
Is this like a split EP
No,
thing?
I bought 2
Like,
tapes.
this sounds fire.
I bought 2 tapes, and so is that. And those were like the first times I got tapes. And then I got like, I remember my first CD was my my cool uncle that I really liked. He gave me TLC, and it was like parental advisory. My parents were like, I don't know. And so my first CD ever was TLC, which is a good.
Do you know what my first CD was?
I'm gonna guess. Can I guess?
Yeah.
Jewel.
No, close, but
Okay.
not nearly as good.
What is it?
The Spice Girls.
Oh, that's fire.
Yeah.
Dude, so I asked this
What's that album called?
Spice World.
Spice World. Spice World was my first CD, and I remember
Is this Spooky Spice or Scary? Scary Spice.
Spooky.
Like,
Yo,
woo,
no,
she's this goth.
This episode has to be called Spooky Spice.
Spooky Spice. Dude, I loved them. I was in love with them. Still kind of am.
Spooky Spice.
Spooky Spice. She was great.
No, I had a crush on Baby Spice, man.
Baby Spice. I don't remember what any of them looked like.
Yeah, my dad was concerned. He's like, "Why is your first CD Spice Girls?" And I said, "Dad, I got a crush on Baby Spice."
All right, we're gonna get you into hockey or something.
Yeah, he's like, "You need to start playing ice hockey, bitch."
He's like, you're like, Dad, I want to get my ears pierced. He's like, which one?
Yeah,
That's funny.
which one?
Spooky Spice one. No, yeah, dude. So I like that's actually like one of my favorite icebreakers when I don't know people or if we're
What's
just kind
the
of
first CD
sitting.
you bought?
What's the first CD you ever got? Because it's
See,
like,
some people won't tell the truth.
dude,
Too.
70% of my friends, their first CD was all Jewel.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it,
Because
she
she
had
was
like
the
the
biggest
highest
artist.
selling
Yeah.
artist at the time. So it's like you would like a lot of times you would get gifts like CDs as gifts, and they would kind of look at like what's popular. So just go like, hey, this album's selling off the shelf. So your aunt would be like, cool, I'm gonna get this. He likes music, and then I would just like get Nickelback CD and be like, this fucking rips.
Dude, I
loved Nickelback.
do you remember Sam Werber?
Yeah.
Me and him really liked Nickelback together, and we would hang out at his house and listen to Nickelback and make steaks. And that's the whole story.
I remember one year my dad got me, it was Easter, and he got everybody Easter baskets. And in my Easter basket, I was like, I'm too old for this. Like, I don't need this. This Creed album. And it changed my life.
Dude, it took you higher.
I know we have this whole episode.
The singer of Creed was just on Theo Von. Did you listen
Really?
to
Is
that
he
episode?
like sober now?
I don't know. I listened to it and it was really good. Seems
Really?
like a great guy. Like, we should have him on.
That's funny. Yeah.
You think he'd
Come
be
on
on the
out.
pod?
Discuss that. We'll love you. I mean, we have that whole episode where I talk about my... See,
If Creed's
I always
managers
like feel
listen to
bad
this,
going back and talking about things that we talked to about before, but now we have video, and so it's different being able to tell these stories and like people actually get to see what we do. But it's like when I was growing up, I was in like super deep in this church with Andy and his family, and we had this summer camp, and it was Creed themed, and so we have a whole episode about it. But like I legitimately went to a full church camp that was themed after the band Creed, and like everybody's shirt said, "He can take you higher," and everybody and Andy's dad would like come up and sing like, "Can you take me higher?" And we'd all just be there like this, like the wrong hand. Was that this one? But yeah, no, it was so funny. It was just like legitimately a full like summer camp themed around Creed. I played tetherball against a blind kid. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Those were the heydays.
Those are the heydays.
I remember one time I was there, I was standing around this group of like older, I think they were probably like the parents or something, and somebody like had this golf ball was bouncing like really fast down this hill, and it was about to hit this lady in the head, and I just put my hand up and I caught it, and one of the other ladies was like, "Did you just catch that?" And I just felt so fucking cool. I never forgot it. I was probably fucking 10.
That was the most athletic moment
felt like
of your life.
I saved her life. I was like, poof. I just caught it. I just looked around. They're like, "Did you catch that?" I was like,
I just looked around. I was like, yeah.
"Yeah, you fucking better believe I did. I just saved your life. You could have had a golf ball to the dome."
I never knew over 100 episodes of this podcast, and I had no idea that you were a lifesaver.
I saved a lot of lives. So many that it's hard to remember any of them right now. But
have you ever seen someone get their life saved?
I thought you were going to say taken. I was like, damn. Seeing somebody get their life saved. I mean, yeah. I mean, I feel like I have. Which
I'm trying to
like,
think if I have. Have I?
Like first responders and shit.
No,
kind of
like
stuff, but like, what do you mean? Like
something interesting.
No.
Like you're at Denny's and some guy starts choking in the
What's
waitress.
like your first like near death experience you remember in your life? Do you have any like big ones? I remember when I was a kid, I was in we were like driving home from church because we went to church like twice a week, and so it was like later on a Wednesday night, like probably 8:30 or something, and we're driving down these like two-way street on dirt roads in Chandler because we lived in Chandler and there wasn't a lot of houses back then. We were one of the first builds out there, and I remember this car driving with its headlights on and in the wrong lane, and to the right of us was like a big ditch, so we would have like totaled the car and all crashed and like flipped probably, and the other option was this car was just head on for us like going fast. And I remember like being a young kid looking up and seeing this car like headed straight for us, and then it just dips out to the side. So I don't know if they weren't paying attention or what happened, but that was the first time remembering like that chilling feeling of realizing like what almost happened, you know.
A couple months ago, I choked on a piece of spinach. And,
spinach? Is that how you say it?
Spinach?
Spinach,
dude, whatever. Yeah, I started choking on a piece of spinach, and then I did have a moment where I was like, this might not be good. Like, I hope this comes
choking
out.
Choking is so funny.
And it was, dude, it was really scary, man. And then all of a sudden, it just flies out and it hits the ground. And then
it's terrifying.
And then, you know what it was?
What?
It was a sandwich.
Ooh.
See?
So I don't eat sandwiches with spinach on them. That's the problem. my sandwiches aren't going to kill me. No, something about choking is you feel like you're going to die, but you're also embarrassed. And even if nobody's around,
that's the worst way to die.
And you feel like shame, but you're like, I can't breathe. Because like, there's been a handful of times where I felt like I was like choking.
Yes, because even if you get eaten by a shark, at least you're not embarrassed. You're not socially embarrassed. You're socially embarrassed when you're choking because you're making stupid faces. Everyone's just looking at you, waiting for you to stop making a scene. Like, stop, dude. Calm down. You're making a scene. We're trying to have a conversation. You're choking now.
That I think you should leave episode where the guy is like sitting at. It's so good though because it's like it's so true. As soon as you like start choking, you're like, I can't breathe. I need help. But you don't want to make a scene. You're not gonna like stand up in the middle of a restaurant and just start like trying to like do the Heimlich. You're gonna like try to keep it cool. But there's been a couple of times where I remember like I was choking on something and I was like, oh my God, like this is so embarrassing. But
we've had near-death experiences on tour in the van.
All the time, yeah.
Mainly when Andy was driving.
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, that's why we were always like, hey, I think there was a point where we said we're not doing winter tours anymore.
I think that's the most scared for my life I've ever been when we were in the van sliding on ice down a mountain.
Oh, it's terrifying.
That was really scary. And seeing all the cars that were flipped over on the side of the road, knowing that could easily be us right now.
Dude, one time it was so bad. I remember putting on my like winter coat in the van, and I put on my winter coat and I stuffed a water bottle in my jacket, and I had like my phone charging but in my pocket. And I was like ready, like I legitimately thought we were about to like fall off this fucking mountain. And so there was all this snow everywhere.
So you wanted to make sure you had a water bottle.
Well, no, like I had my jacket, I wanted water.
Yeah,
and like
it's smart.
I was like looking around. I was like, dude, if we get trapped in this car, like how long can we survive? Because we have 2 jars of peanut butter, We have 1 case of water. We have, I have blankets and a jacket. So I think that will like help. But you start to think about these things because you're going down this mountain. You start sliding around and your trailer goes, if it just hooks a little bit more, you're fucked. And you're like in the middle of the forest during whiteout and nobody can come get you. It's scary. Like, don't you remember having those moments where you're driving
scary.
and you're
scary.
like, dude, this could be really fucking bad at any moment.
Yeah. It's the worst fucking part of tour, dude.
It's so scary.
Driving.
Or it's like that feeling.
There were a lot
sleeping.
of moments where I remember specifically not telling my mom
Oh, for sure.
what was up because I did not want her to freak out.
I didn't tell my mom anything because I probably lost my phone the first night and I didn't talk to a single soul. No, just going that hard. And I remember the scariest feeling ever is winter tour. You're trying to sleep. You have an overnight drive on ice and you're trusting somebody else to drive and you're trying to fall asleep and you just start feeling that fucking crunchy, like slipping feeling where it's always like a crunchy, weird feeling when you like,
the black ice, the streaks of black ice.
To go.
I remember Tim woke us up one morning at like 2 a.m. while we were doing an overnight drive and he said, "Hey, everyone wake up. Like you guys, you put your seatbelts on." And when he said that, I was just like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah,
because
I think that's when I started putting my shit on.
Tim was the most manly guy in our camp for sure, as far as like having any kind of life skills or like know how to fix or do anything really, because we're all idiots. And I remember being like, "Damn, if Tim's saying this is real. This is serious right now."
Dude.
And we would not have made it through that tour, quite a couple tours, without Tim.
No, dude, I remember the only time that Tim was ever bad I get to talk about because he's always great for everything else. And Tim was our tour manager for a very long time, and now he works for Dirty Heads. He's like their, I don't know, he does a lot of shit.
He still belongs to us deep down, though.
Yeah, deep down he knows his roots, and he knows that he owes us pretty much.
He knows that we could take him back at any moment.
We saved his life by giving him to the Dirty Heads pretty much.
Oh, dude.
He has a boat now.
So you've
because
actually,
of us.
You've saved more than one life.
Yeah, I have. I saved that one lady at church camp, and then I saved Tim, and we got him a boat, kind of.
We got him a boat.
Yeah, he's out there fishing on his boat in Huntington Beach, and
so does that
because
mean,
of us.
Dude, that means like at any moment we feel like going on vacation, we could just go on his boat because we basically own his boat.
Technically, we kind of own your boat, bud. That's what I'm going to say. Oh, you go show up.
Just show up with your suitcase. Technically, we kind of own your boat.
Do you think any of this would happen if it wasn't for the Dirty Heads, who you wouldn't have known if it wasn't for me? Do you? We're going on the boat. No, but yeah, I remember one time we were in the van and we had to sleep. It was me, Tim, and our other tour manager, Sunboner, and I think you.
Me and Andy ditched
you and Andy,
you guys.
Well, we were trying to go meet up with you guys because we were going to stay at our friend's house, but there was no parking, and we were in like Chicago.
We were in Chicago. Me and Andy were acting up.
Yeah, you guys were at a friend's house, and so I was in the van. We couldn't find anywhere to park, so we end up on the south side of Chicago, which is one of the most dangerous areas in the fucking country, and we're like, we just have to sleep at this Walmart parking lot, and I was like, no, dude, and there's fucking gunshots going off like all the time.
But it was
like
our fault
bad.
because you guys couldn't leave. You guys were like, "Oh, well, we could just get out of the city right now." But
you guys,
Stravers and Andy bailed, so we have to wait for them now. So I remember the next morning when we showed up, you guys no one looked at us or said a word. You guys were all furious with us.
Think of how fucking terrifying it is to sleep in your car when you have like obviously a lot of money's worth of shit in your trailer, and you're in the most dangerous neighborhood in the fucking country.
To top it off, me and Andy left our backpacks, which had our computers in it, at the venue the night before.
Dude, all right, so it was Tim's birthday that night, though, and so he's like, come on, let's go out to a bar. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going out here. And it's got to be pretty scary for me to not be willing to go to a bar, especially at that time in my life. And he's like going out, and me and Sunboner were like, dude, we're staying in here and we're hiding. Like, if anybody comes and tries to take our shit, like, we're just letting them have it, you know? And we're prepared. Like, I really thought something was going to go down. And Tim leaves, and he comes back with a fucking big case of tampons and throws it at us. He's like, you guys are being pussies. It's the only time he drank the whole tour, the only time he was an asshole, and like maybe ever that I've ever known him. And that's why I'm bringing it up right now, because he's the nicest guy in the world. But he's like, you guys are being pussies. And we're like, dude, we're not going out here. There's literally gunshots everywhere. I'm too afraid to go into Walmart. I'm going to like piss in a bottle. Like, I don't know. I'm not going in. I just remember him being like really, really upset with us. But that same night, we were trying to park at your friend's house before all this. And he fucking hit somebody's car trying to back up. And we just left. Like, because we just fucking took off after hitting their car because nobody was around to see it. And then so we had just gone through all the stress of trying to find parking. We hit somebody's car. We like ditch. We leave on it. And then we're in the south side of Chicago sleeping in a fucking Walmart. And then we have somebody bitching at us about like not being fun. And we're like, dude, shut the fuck up. I was so mad.
I backed the van into a Mini Cooper in Portland once.
Wasn't there a fan in the car with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. That dude, we were in Portland. I wasn't with you guys. I had gotten out at the time.
I was freaking out, dude.
Yeah, and you dipped, right?
Yeah.
We did probably like 4 hit and runs over the years of tour.
That's not good to admit. There's someone out there. We can't prove it. But
allegedly.
Dude, so here's what doesn't make sense. So here's the way of my here's how my brain rationalizes the situation. So we're on tour. We play in Portland, Oregon. I accidentally back our van into a Mini Cooper in the driver door.
We were smoking weed with this like fan, right?
Yeah, we're doing something stupid in there. And I back our van into this Mini Cooper, leave a huge ass dent in the driver door. And then we get home 2 weeks later from tour. I didn't have a car at the time, so I was just driving our van. I have our van parked in front of my mom's house in Gilbert, and our neighbor backs into our van, dents it, and comes up to our door and rings the doorbell and said, hey, is that your van? I said, yeah, what's up? And she's like, dude, I'm so sorry. Like I backed into it and I dented it. And I just immediately thought, like, how is this tying together? Like, why? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I do a hit and run. I do the shitty thing and don't like even leave a note or anything. Like, we were just young and stupid.
To be fair, our hit and runs are all on parked cars with nobody in them.
Yes.
We didn't hit anybody.
But this person had the courage to come up and tell me and be like, hey, I'll pay for whatever thing. I don't even remember what ended up happening, but I remember thinking like, damn.
No, do you know what ended up happening? Our door just didn't work for like 2 years. Do you remember that? That door is fucking stuck forever.
Yeah.
And we would just always have to try to climb out around it.
I don't think that was because of someone hitting it. I think they hit the front of the van.
Oh.
But yeah, I do remember that though. That was a pain in the ass because that door wouldn't open, so we'd all have to climb up through one seat to get out of the van.
Yeah, I think there was a tour where like half the tour we had to climb in through the back and like hop over rows. We would always have like you just never knew that sinking feeling of like realizing like, oh yeah, my entire like next 2 days are fucked because this van's broken and we're in the middle of nowhere and we have no money and we have to figure out how someone's going to pay for it. Yeah, we were stuck there for 7 fucking days. We were recently stuck in fucking Deming, New Mexico for 7 days.
You think, let's just go right into it. You think AI is going to fuck with shows?
Wow, that's so on topic to everything we've talked about.
Well, we're talking about shows. We're talking about touring.
I don't think it will fuck with shows at all. I don't think you can replace. I think even if you go and see an act that has like perfect rendition, like holograms or whatever, it's not going to change the fact that you know deep down that that's not them. You know what I mean? There's something to seeing the actual person perform. And I think that some proof of that is in the pandemic when we weren't able to do shows and we would do live stream shows. And we would do these super high quality live stream shows. And we would do them, at the company that does the biggest lighting for all the biggest artists out here or around the country called Lit Lighting. And they set up this massive thing for us. They looked so great. We had cameras on cranes. But even then, it's not the same. Everybody thinks it's cool and people tuned in and people paid and we probably sold more tickets for that than we would have for some of our shows across the country. But overall, it's not going to be a replacement. Even I think even virtual reality, sitting in your couch and then being at a concert, it's not going to be the same as having other breathing people that have the same energy as you excited about it,
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I'm not saying I think it's going to be. It's just a question, something I think about because if you think about it, even what we're doing right here, like we're physically in the same room together. I'm looking at you. We're having a conversation that's an hour long. How often do you really even do that with other people?
Yeah, only when I'm stuck in an Uber with you and you're talking to the driver.
No, seriously.
I know. I don't sit. I mean,
like that's what's nice
I hang
about
out
this.
with my friends, but
well, yeah, of
like,
course, so do I. But like, I guess focused without looking at your phone.
No,
like when we do this podcast, I'm not looking at my phone, and if the phone even does turn on, it's just to like look at some notes or something.
Yeah,
but in a way, communication even between human beings has already been replaced for the most part with text messages and social media. So if human interaction and stuff like that is already getting replaced at like this really weird, fast-paced level, it's going to be interesting to see what other things start getting replaced even more and more. And like, I don't know, it's
but
something
you see,
that's
like,
really
even
trippy.
Podcasts are getting bigger than ever now, and it's like the peak of social media and replacement of everything else. So I think that
people want this. They want like in-depth, that's not just a 2-second video and then you swipe somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that
nice.
I think there's a time and place for everything. You know, I'm not like against regular content. I understand why people like it, and you know, it's not for me. I'm really like, I don't like the 2-second thing, but I'm easily sucked into it. Like I realize I think everybody is. They know exactly what to do, but I do think like the world is going to change because of AI in a massive way. And like, dude, I watched that documentary or the interview you sent me.
Yeah, man, it's scary because he's talking about it actually being able to learn and it being able to learn how to be creative. And I think that's a scary thing.
Yeah.
Because I think there are a lot of people already at a stage of like consciousness right now to just be willing to be like, oh, well, fuck it. If an AI made it, like, I don't care. I just like it. I like the way it makes me feel.
Yeah, but who do you want to be? Like, do you want to be the guy that still works at the paper company being like, it's not like email's not going to take us out, and then you realize you're on like a dinosaur company, or do you just like adapt? Like, I think that's kind of where the stage we're at now is. We're probably on the verge of something really big, and it is going to take a shitload of jobs, and it's going to change the fucking world, and it could be for the best or for the worst, and it most likely will be for the fucking worst because of the way people handle things. But it's like, you have to just learn how can I use this myself as a tool instead of being like resistant against it, because it's going to happen no matter what.
Yeah, what I'm more so concerned about is the line where we decide like, all right, this is not going to be good for humanity. But with the whole like, I don't know, at what point do you decide like this is not going to make us better?
I mean, I think that we've seen over the last 4 years that people
like we're moving too
people
fast.
don't give a shit about humanity. You know,
we're moving too fast. It's scary.
Yeah, it's like, it's very like, if this helps me now, because people are, you know, and it's understandable. Like, how can you worry about everyone else in the world when you have your own massive problems? Like, there are people that really need every ounce of help they can get. So it's like, you know, it's kind of like selfish to think like, why aren't you thinking about the world? And they're like, I'm fucking worried about myself. I have no idea what's going on.
I don't have time to worry about those things.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it's gonna be life-changing. I think it's gonna kill a shitload of fucking jobs, and it's gonna be really
yeah, it's
hard
like, what
for
if
people.
an AI can come up with just like fire bass lines but give an artist, it's funny,
no, it's
dude,
gonna happen,
but that's happening.
for sure. It's
like,
probably already happening.
there's like what does that do? I guess, okay, my point is, at what point are human beings going to decide like, hey, I want to work with a human being because I get a human experience from them, and not go for the easy, quick route that's just like, oh, this is going to be cheaper, so I want that.
Yeah, I mean, we
like,
all have our own style. I think that's what's important about finding your own brand and your own style. And yeah, I think AI can do a lot more than, I don't know. I think of it like with the synthesizers. Like, I like buying real synthesizers I can put my hands on, I can play. I know I'm not alone in
and like what he says in that video, there's a niche for it. There's always going to be a niche. What he was saying in that video is like, he believes there's always going to be a niche for people that want that human expression, that human touch.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, when it gets so far into not being able to tell the difference between what's real and what's not, that's him talking about that being a possibility is scary. Not knowing, like,
I mean,
when you
dude,
look at
we're
something,
already there.
when you already look, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, even just see what, like, what's going on with, like, the news and, like, how these news corporations, like, behave and media and all that stuff. And it's like we're already in this dilemma of not knowing what's real, not knowing what's fake.
I mean, how many times do you see a video?
It's going to get worse.
Yeah, I see so many videos. I'm just like, is that real or is that like AI?
Yeah, totally.
Because like that's so ridiculous that somebody had to type that up. But it's like we already don't know, so it's kind of like, all right, well that's already fucked. And the truth is like, obviously we can manipulate it however benefits us the most. So where do we go from there, and how do we
it's a tool,
fix it? So
but I
guess
think,
we'll just see.
Like what you're saying, like I think it could, like what that guy was saying in the video. He was saying he does believe that AI has the ability to make the world a much better place if the tools are used correctly. But who's in power of those tools is going to be very important. But like you could look at, you know, when I started making beats was right before we made Washed, and some people could be like, oh, well, fuck that. Why are you doing fake drums? But it's like, to me, when I look at that, it's just a tool. It's like a bunch of samples in front of me. There's kicks, there's snares, there's hi-hats, there's extra different weird sounds. I'm just using this the same way as if I'm sitting behind a drum kit. It's still real. They're just sounds.
I mean, think
there's
about
no difference,
back to like
really,
the
right?
Industrial revolution of things where, you know, all these jobs were taken because they invented these machines that could do manual labor and like a repetitive motion over and over and over again. And you're like, oh, we don't need all these people to be sitting in a row chopping wood. We can have this. So now you have 1,000 people that chop wood, and they're like, what the fuck do I do? Like, all I know is how to chop wood. But I feel like we're probably in a similar way of that, but instead it's a lot of creative jobs where it's a lot of like video editing, music, and you know, I think like, I don't know, corporate type of whatever's going to benefit the corporate world the most is what's going to get the most money behind it, which I think might actually be beneficial to us because it's very beneficial for massive companies to have a lot of research in getting audio to sound perfectly and having you know, voices that can be recreated that sound identical. So I think we're about to see in like the music world some massive innovation on like mixing plugins where you press a button and you're like, holy shit, this sounds amazing. And we're already getting close.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, it's scary, but then it's also, okay, people are still, not everybody's going to be like, okay, I'm just going to download this. They're still going to want other people to do it because somebody still has to control the things. They have to like feed the info to the AI, and they have to still do this. And especially, you know.
And that's an interesting thing too, because I don't know about you, but when we're in the room together and we're creating a song, there's a certain wavelength and like frequency that we all tap into. How do you experience that? Like when we're vibing and like stuff is going right and we are on that kind of wave or whatever you want to call it, how do you experience that? What does that feel like to you? Like, what do you think's going on?
Yeah, it's just like
what do you think's going on?
It's almost like it's just like flow state. You know, it's almost in the same way I feel of it as if when you're driving long drives and then you look up and you're just like, oh shit, I just drove like 10 miles and I've been in my own head. And so it's like you get into these almost...
You're not thinking, you're allowing it to happen.
Yeah, you're almost in this state of like hypnosis, you know? And like I think that is like, I don't totally believe that people can just pick people out of a room, touch their shoulder, and they fucking drop down. But there's a part of our brain where you can tap into more subconscious. You're not thinking about everything around you because you're so focused on something else. And so when we're in those modes, it's all of us in the same room, and we're all kind of like, what can I do? And you're playing around with these building blocks of sound and creating something. And so to me, it's just like one of those like hypnosis states almost where you just kind of
Where do you
flow
think
together.
That comes from?
I mean,
like, how do you think that happens?
I think it's just a mixture, like a combined, I don't know, it's like a combined energy sort of thing. Because if I feel, say I walk into a room and I have wild negative fucking vibes, I'm just like in a bad mood, I'm huffing, puffing, I'm breathing. And then you come in and you're like in a really chill mood, like you can feel that I'm in a bad mood. Like it's affecting your thing. So
yeah,
I
we
think
know each other well enough too to know exactly what that feels like. I know when you're feeling like that, and you definitely probably know how I'm feeling like that because we know each other's normal state of being in a comfortable, chill mood.
Right. And so if you have a bunch of people feeling a new emotion kind of thing at the same time, then you can just tell, because it goes the same way where if all of us are feeling a certain way and then just one of us is like not into it, it ruins the whole thing for everybody. Nobody can actually land into that, snap in to that flow thing, because one person's like, I don't give a fuck, and you can feel it. Or whether it's like, maybe I'm not into the song and everybody else is. If we're sitting on it for a fucking hour, I'm just over it. You guys are all going to be like, all right, let's just go to something else, because it's not going to feel good. But if everybody's excited about it and everybody's not overthinking it and we're just in that moment, then that's like where the good shit happens. And you can't recreate that on computers. You might be able to eventually, which I'm sure they will. But to me, it's like, I think there's always going to be people that like want to fucking read Cormac McCarthy. They're not going to want to read something in the style of Cormac McCarthy that was new and written by somebody else or some computer.
Have you read any of that new Rick Rubin book yet?
No.
He talks about the process in a really there's something that he talks about a lot throughout the whole book, which I think is a really interesting concept. But he basically describes the idea of creative thoughts as clouds that are passing over us. And the way he describes it is that he thinks that good ideas and good whatever is inspiration that you're putting into the world with music, all these ideas are basically creative clouds that are constantly floating around all of us, and it's our job to be open enough to grab it and use it, and be open enough to just see it when it arrives, because if we don't, it's going to pass by and someone else is going to grab it and then use it. And I think that's really kind of a crazy idea, because how many times have you heard of like someone, this has happened a few different times with just friends or artists over the years, where someone will be like, I think I'm going to call my album this and like do this and that. And then like they never do it, and then someone else ends up doing it. Yeah. And I feel like I've heard of a lot of accounts of that happening, and it'd be really interesting if that maybe is what's going on. Like maybe there's this, I don't know, because it is, like you even said it earlier, energy. It's like there's this vibe, there's this energy in the room. We're all together making this thing. And for some reason, some days that energy is just so easy and so strong. And like there's been so many sessions with Katastro where we just make a song so fast and it's so effortless and it's so good. And we just all are like, it's almost like we're not trying. And then there's other days where you do have to try. So it's always different. It's not always like that.
No, yeah.
But
when it is like that, that's when you get like your best shit. At least for us, it's like
me and you
then
too.
Honestly, dude, like some of our songs, they've taken a really long time to come together, and then they turn out great. But there is a whole other side where it's like, oh, we came up with this whole song in 20, 30 minutes. Like we got the bare bones of it, like pretty much done. In a couple hours, the whole song's fucking done, and you're like,
because me and you have been producing a lot of stuff together, and like there's so many moments where I'll realize like, oh, we're just like, this is just happening.
Yeah.
And like, cause you find something and it's just like, oh, let's follow that. And then it starts like almost like taking on a life of its own. Yeah. It's so cool. It's such a weird thing.
We've gotten really good at working together. I mean, we have so much musical chemistry, sexual chemistry from working together.
Dental chemistry.
Dental chemistry. No, yeah, we've been in bands. We played music with each other for so fucking long now that it's like now we get people in the room and I'll just start fucking around with sounds, and then I just kind of watch them and I see if they're like, I just start playing it before we start talking about what we're gonna do. And I try to land on something, but we're all talking about something else. And I just watch and see if they look over and they're like, whoa, what's that? And then I know I'm in, and then we just all fucking go. But if they don't do it, then we just go to something else.
Yeah. You know what's interesting too is I feel like if you're, when you start creating something, having the ability to like just start, not judge it, not say like, oh, this sucks or this is good or even nothing. Just be like, let's just see what happens. And then like give it a chance and see where it goes. And then after a long enough time, all right, this is going somewhere or this is not. But that initial stage of like just experimenting is so exciting and so fun.
Yeah, it's great.
It's really cool.
Best,
yeah, it's really fucking sick.
That's why I still, I don't know. I'm not afraid of AI. I'm sure it will change the world, and it might fuck everyone over, or it can just make everything great and make our lives easier and better. So we'll see. But for now, I'm just worried about making dope fucking music and doing things I fucking like. So
yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
That's all I care
interesting
about
times.
Is me.
All I care about is me.
Well, at the end of the fucking day, all that matters is like, am I feeling fulfilled in everything? Like, what's the point in me worrying about all these potential fucking things where it's like, all right, right now I'm in a good spot. I really like doing all these things I like doing. So I'm just gonna live on that.
And me bringing that up, I'm not like sitting around all day worried about AI. It was just,
it's easy.
It's a very interesting video. And for what I do, outside of Katastro, I produce and I record but like, those jobs could easily be replaced in a few years with, apps or something. But like what I already provide at the studio with the artists that I work with is a different point of view and a pretty like nice human experience where someone can bounce their ideas off me and like we can talk about, like most of the sessions I do with people, it's like first before we make music, we talk about how our lives are going and like not me, but like asking them how they're doing and they just love opening up and talking about what they're going through because 99% of the time whatever's going on is in the music and in the lyrics and they're excited to talk about what they're going through because that's what their songs are about, them. Like all the artists we work with, like they love to talk about what this song means, why they wrote this lyric. And can you fucking do that meaningfully with a computer,
That's the thing is you can probably make a hit fucking song just by plugging in all the things you want it to be about and, it will create all of this. But, people, through experience of knowing what works and what doesn't work and being a person, there's always going to be value because what the goal is to sell that song and have other real people listen to it. You're not making music for other AIs to be like thumbs up. You know what I mean? You want this to be touching real people. So it's like there's always going to be a benefit to having an actual person inside with some sort of experience doing it.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I feel like music should be a sacred thing that
well, it's too late for that.
Is treated for like, what do you mean it's too late for that?
Oh, just look at some of these fucking artists where you're just like, oh shit.
Well, there's always going to be people doing shit in a shitty way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree.
I
I think even if I think it's bad, if a lot of people find joy in it, then who's to say that that's wrong?
I mean, I don't know, man. You could take that a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
There's a lot of groups of people out there that take joy in stuff that's not good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but I mean, if you're talking about art, then who's to be like, okay, well then that's like it's bad to me and it's technically fucking bad and I don't like it and I don't think people should like it, but if there's a bunch of people that want to listen to this sound that I think is fucking horrible, I don't like metal and it's huge. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like to me, I was like, I don't get it. But I understand that a lot of people fucking love it, and I understand why they love it. So, whatever. I think as we get older, we're going to be faced with a lot more things that we don't totally understand, and we just got to be okay with it.
Moving fast.
Yeah,
it's just moving fast, real fast.
I think we should probably close this one off today. That went by quick. We were in our flow state.
We were just so in our flow state, dude. Yeah, just like robots, dude.
Just talking around the campfire is how it goes,
Dude, we better not ever have a holographic campfire. That's never going to happen.
Are you kidding, dude? That'd be dope.
We're going to have a real one.
A real one in here?
Yeah. Stevie, can you make sure that there's a real campfire next time we walk in?
Yeah, I'm not walking in unless there is. So. All right. Thank you guys for joining Kamp.
See you next week.